Hey everybody, Christopher here with Bangert, and I wanted to talk today about creating and positioning custom fields in Sage Intacct. What are we going to need to get started? Well, we're going to need to be subscribed to either customization services or platform services. Most of our clients will already be subscribed to platform services, but either option works. Platform services is really just kind of an extended customization services, and not every subscription level covers platform services. You must also have a business user with either limited or full admin privileges set up on your user record. And that's just going to be required to get to the various fields that we need to change or update or create custom fields. So assuming you have these things in place, let's talk about what kind of fields you can create. So first, you can create a checkbox, which is a true or false type field. There's a few number type fields you can create. That'll be a number, which is integer or decimal values. There's percent, which is integer or decimal values that are treated as a percent in the system. And then there's sequence, which is an auto-numbering field. Technically, this is a alphanumeric type field, but it's going to be something that ends in a number and it automatically will increment that number within that sequence type. Basically the exact same as like the record IDs for customers, vendors, employees, etc. There's also a currency type field. This is going to allow you to put in a currency type selector, not a currency value. So you're not talking about how much money, you're talking about what kind of money. There's a date field, and then there's several text type fields. There's an email type field, which is going to verify that the text put in that field is in an email address format. There's a text type field, which is for short text. Think like a single line of text. There's a text area field, which is for long text. Think multi-line text. Then there's a URL field and a password type field. The password type field is going to be used to hide the characters as they're entered. Once you've decided what type of custom field, you'll probably wonder, what are my limitations? Where can I put it? And how many of them can I have? So a custom field can only be created for objects that are in the object to extend dropdown. We'll talk about what that is here in a moment. And then the custom field count, you can have up to 100 of them for vendor, item, project, or contract objects. That means 100 each. So a vendor can have 100 and item can have 100 for a total of 200 there. The rest of the types of objects within that object to extend dropdown can have up to 25 custom fields created for them. This is again per object, so you can have 25 for each object. Okay, so where can you use it once you've created it? You can use a custom field in list views, any type of report, financial custom report, interactive custom report writer, any of those. Smart rules, smart events, printed document templates, and as a filter within dimension groups. So they're very versatile. They can be used pretty much all over the system. And if you're not recording the kind of data you want to record, a custom field is probably a very good choice to look at. So now that we know where we can use it, what kind we can create, what limitations we might have, and we've made sure that we've got all the requisites, how do we actually get in there and make one? We're going to go to customization or platform services. Within the object customization, we'll choose custom fields and click add. Alternatively, we'll be able to click a plus sign next to it in the menu. Then we'll choose the object we want to extend, set the data type of the field, and then create a label and field ID so the system knows how to label the field on the UI and how to label the field for imports and things like that. You'll also be able to set a description and then choose your deployment options like positioning and things like that. So let's see that in action. First, let's go ahead and open up our instance. We do need to be at the top level. If you are at a entity level, you would not be able to find platform or customization services in your menu. It's only available at the top level. Then you'll find custom fields. You can either click on this and click add, or you can click the plus sign right here. You can see your list of existing fields when you click on it. And if you think maybe, hey, this field may have been created before, you can choose to include inactive, and maybe you could go back and reactivate that field that was inactive. We're going to go ahead and add a brand new field today. And we're going to choose our object to extend. So we're going to choose an AP bill in this case. And we're going to choose our data type. As a brief note, we'll go ahead and here choose a number, but we're going to come back and update this to email. And we can see here that there's additional characteristics aside from just label and field ID. The length and the decimal places are something that we need to fill in to tell the system how to treat the field. And this is because fields in the database are stored as text for the values that you enter in the custom fields. And when you use them in the front end, they get treated like the field type you're creating. So when you tell it that you want a number that's up to this long, you need to include like a decimal point. So let's say I want hundreds place with 2 decimals. I'm going to say 6 and 2 decimal places. And that's going to be because our hundreds place is 1, tens place is 2, ones place is 3, the decimal is character 4, the tenths is character 5, and the hundredths is character 6. And that would give us a 3-digit number with 2 decimal places, but it requires 6 characters. You don't need to include commas. Let's go ahead and go back here, and we're going to change this back to email. We'll see that it doesn't require any special characteristics for the field because the field has a static. An email must always be something at something dot something. So we're going to call this special billing email. It's automatically going to fill in a field ID for us based on our label. This field ID is required to be unique while the label is not. So if you have 2 fields called the same thing on 2 different objects, you do still need to go ahead and set that up with some kind of indicator. You could put a number like that, or maybe you might say at the beginning, AP bill special billing email. Optionally, you can set your description. And finally, you can set your deployment options like we talked about. We're going to go ahead and not do much here. We're just going to say done. And we'll come back over to our slideshow. So let's talk about the details of positioning. The final step of creating the custom field, as we saw, has those deployment options. And we have an option for a tab and an option for a section. We're going to go back in and edit this custom field to set those up. But first, I want to show you what happens when you don't set it. So the tab is going to tell the system which tab within that object you've extended should the custom field appear on. You'll see in a moment, if we don't select one, it's going to appear on the first tab. And then the section field is going to give us an option to set the section within the tab that we've chosen. And if that section matches an existing section, the field's going to be added to the end of the section in the order that custom fields were created. So custom fields are always going to come after system fields. And if you create multiple custom fields in a single section, they'll order themselves in the order that they're created. So let's go ahead and pop back over to Intacct, take a look at where our custom field we just created shows up. So we'll need to go into an entity level to see existing fields. So we're going to go ahead and hop back into our Timberline General Construction entity. We'll go to Accounts Payable. We'll look at our bills list. Here you can see we've got several bills. Let's take a look at our existing bill. We have a special billing email field on the first tab. There's no value for an existing one because we didn't have a special billing email before. But we can also see that on new fields as well. So you can go back and update objects that exist or records that exist of an object type to be able to fill that in. If we fill in a special billing email and we use a format that doesn't match you can see it will tell us that the format doesn't work. We're not going to record anything in here. Just wanted to show you where that was. So you can edit a custom field, by the way. So we're going to go ahead and edit here. The use of it in workflows. So the first thing we could do is get this popped over to another object type, and a workflow object type is what we're going to choose. So we're going to say, for example, we want purchase orders, which would be, I keep scrolling past it. There it is, purchase order transaction. Let's say we want that. And within a workflow, we're also required to choose the document types that we want the custom field to apply to. Any type that you enter in here, it will take the custom field and carry that data through any conversions to that document type within the workflow. So you could have it on all steps or just some of the steps. We're not going to actually use that here, but as a note, the feature is available for Smart Rules, Smart Events, and Smart Links as well. Let's switch this back to AP Bill and take a look at editing. So we're not going to edit the email type. We're not going to edit our label or our field ID. As a note, with the data type, you cannot change the data type. You must delete and recreate. If you wanted to change the data type, it'll automatically empty out your label and field ID. So let's quickly go back in. And we're going to go ahead and jump to deployment options. Let's talk about these a little bit more. So the field is required, does exactly what the field is required says. Field is hidden, hides it in the system when you're using it. This is typically used by integrations as opposed to, users like you and me. And then the field is inactive, makes it inactive. You can't create new data for that field. It does not delete existing data. This is important when you think about deleting a custom field. If you're not going to use it anymore and you're not replacing it, it's a very good idea to just hide it and make it inactive. And this will prevent anybody from seeing it or creating new data in the field, but won't break your integration, Smart Rules, Smart Events, printed document templates, your reports where it might be used. Anywhere where that's used will still work. However, if you actually delete the field and it's used in one of those, anywhere where it's used will actually error out because it won't be able to access that field. So it doesn't fail cleanly if you delete the field. But if you hide it, it can fail cleanly. It can show just a 0, or it can show something appropriate if there is an existing value there. In this case, we're just going to take a look at changing the section where the field appears as well as the tab. So let's take a look at our existing records, just kind of glance at what we've got here. So we can see that we've got transaction, posting details, and history. You'll notice that in the custom field, you don't have that in the dropdown. You've got header or additional information, so it doesn't quite match what you're expecting there. This is going to be special for certain fields. What we're going to do actually is create a new tab, and we're going to call this test tab 1. And we'll say done to save our change. And we'll come over here and we're going to refresh our record. And you'll see that test tab 1 has been created, and there's a special billing email. If we wanted to edit that special billing email, we could do that here. Let's see what happens when we create a section on here, just so that you can see what that looks like. So without a section, it shows up just as the top field, doesn't have any additional labels, just the field name. But if we give it a section name, so we'll say test section 1, say done. Then we come back over and load that record again. We can see on test tab 1, there's a section now, and it has the special billing email field in it. So generally positioning is going to happen, as I said, tabs, then sections. You create a new tab, it'll show up at the end. Fields created within that tab will show up in chronological order based on the time of creation. If a section is added, it will show up chronologically in order of creation for the first field that has that section in order of field creation. So an existing field might be edited to be included in a section, and that field will cause that section to appear before a section that might be created after. So it's based on time of field creation, but not necessarily when that section was created. If you create it on no tab specified or an existing tab, it shows up at the end of whichever section it's in, or after any custom fields that were created before it, and before any custom fields that were created after it within that section. All right. So we've talked about editing. We've talked about our workflow fields. We've also talked about just creating them. So now we need to think about how do we delete them. If you want to change a data type, then you'll need to either delete or inactivate an existing field and create a new one. Or if you've run out of fields for the object you want to extend, you'll need to delete it. As a generality, I recommend against deleting a custom field if you can avoid it. Instead, make it inactive and hidden, even if you want to change the data type of a field. This is going to help ensure that you don't accidentally break any integrations, reports, or anything like that. Once you delete a custom field, that data is gone. There is no retrieving that. It is simply just gone. So once you delete a custom field, you want to make sure to thoroughly test any smart rule, smart event, printed document template, integration, dimension groups, etc. that might have been affected by that custom field. And you'll do that just by simply printing a document template, making sure that the smart rule is in effect that you put in place. So you just want to make sure you're thoroughly testing. And also, as a special note, when you're selecting an object to extend, the object name in the dropdown is probably going to match, but may not match the name that's used in the rest of your instance. The dropdown's using the official name that's set up within the backend of Sage Intacct, and customized terminology allows updating those names in the menus. So you may have changed the word projects to jobs or something like that. And within that dropdown, projects would show up as jobs because jobs would be the official term. I'm not sure if that's the case anymore, but that is one that used to be that way. So just when you're looking for them, keep in mind that you may need to check your custom terminology settings to see what's the actual name that will show up in that dropdown. With that in mind, let's go ahead and take just a quick look before we finish for the day at how you can delete a custom field. So we'll hop back over to Intacct. We don't need the entity level anymore, and we're going to get rid of our AP special billing email. So to delete it, we'll just click delete, and we'll click OK. And we're going to keep in mind that can break things. So we don't want to do that if we can avoid it. In this case, I know that there's no data in that field. I haven't set up any smart rules, events, etc., because I literally just created it. So if you create it, it's the wrong type, and you realize that before anything's done with it, great, cool, good deal. You can just go ahead and delete that field. In pretty much every other case, try to just mark it inactive and hidden. And as I said at the beginning, you can check that include inactive in order to see fields that have been made inactive already. In any case, I think that's all I've got for today. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed our content, be sure to like and subscribe and check out our Bangert user group as well as our website, bangertinc.com, for events and more information. Thanks.